Alright, guys. So, we have a video. We have a list. Basically, the list is short. And the first man on that list would be Light Yagami. Now, Light Yagami, in the terms of like antagonist and like best story for like the villain and stuff, he did great. It was amazing job on how it was done and executed, from him becoming the god of a new world to him actually dying and failing and stuff. And you kind of think about every antagonist that you've ever seen throughout different types of animes, and then you wonder, okay, what is their story? What is their backstory as to why they became the way that they are? Because Dio Brando from JoJo's Bizarre you can even argue that he can even be on the list and stuff for like the best antagonist or like the best story for a villain, because his father was a drunken abuse. So that drunken abusive nature inflicted onto Dio's younger life, where he started drinking and then he started to suffer from those same abuse. And then when he eventually was adopted by the Joestars and he was in their custody, he just wanted to like rob them of their money and their wealth and stuff, basically torment Jonathan. He already kissed his girl, right? And he just wanted to like take the wealth and he become rich and famous. But then when it failed, he was forever pissed off and angry at the Joestars for what they did and stuff. And you can kind of say it's petty. It's a very petty thing, and it's not really it's not really significant in the story. It's not a petty revenge of, oh, I couldn't get rich and I couldn't take the money, so I'm just gonna destroy their life. But then each time he fails, he comes back with like a different plan and stuff. So in a sense, it was like a petty revenge story, but over time Dio is like well loved and beloved and stuff, right? But when it comes down to like the best story, as I said before, it would go down to being Death Note, because you look at the characters of like Yagami, and he was this kid that he was bored because he wanted something real, like he wanted something to do, he wanted like purpose. But then when the Death Note dropped into his lap and stuff, he was lucky enough to pick it up, because any schmuck could have picked up the Death Note and used it. Anybody could have done that job, most likely would have gotten caught, arrested, maybe killed. Anybody could have had that role, but it dropped down into Light's hands, and he picked up the Death Note, and then he started to like write down people's names in the Death Note, and then that's when things changed, and he was starting to become this different over time. He was becoming like this different person. Where he became someone at the end where he was unrecognizable, where he was killing off innocent and good people just to protect his secret and his code of how he was gonna rule the world and stuff. But he was only able to do like the killings within Japan. I think he killed a couple of people from the United States. I'm not sure, but I know he killed people. I don't think he killed people throughout the world. Don't quote me on that. I think he did, but I think it was just in Japan, like the ruthless killers and maybe a couple of powerful people here and there that he was able to knock off and stuff. But he never truly taken over the world and stuff. It was just within Japan that he became Kira and became the god of a new world there, and everybody loved and feared him at the same time. But it was still a great story, because when you think about like real life and stuff, if anybody was to have like the Death Note and they'd be like, damn, like you look at what's happening right now, right? You look at shit that's happening right now. You like, shit, I wish I had that Death Note, because there'd be a couple of things I would like to write down, a couple of names, right? But overall, the story itself was pretty good. It wasn't like anything bad. I mean, you can nitpick over Death Note and you can say Light screwed up here and there and stuff, because I made a video on it. I was like, what if he actually would have won, right? But I was thinking, for this video, I was thinking like, well, if you wanted to like nitpick on and say like the things that he screwed up on, maybe he shouldn't have flexed too much, maybe he should have kept very, very ghost-like when he became Kira and not let too many people know about who he was. There was a lot of, you could kind of say that there was a couple of errors here and there, but it wasn't enough to make this story to be like, oh, Death Note was actually a trash-ass anime and manga I don't want to look at and stuff. It was everything being built up, like beat by beat by beat, to make you think that Kira was actually going to win, but in reality, Light died. He just died. I mean, as personally, I wanted him to live, but he died, and that's what it was. End of story, right? But yeah, Death Note, it wasn't a bad anime. Like, if anybody was to rate the anime from like 1 to 10, it's a 10. Nothing wrong with it. It was a complete 10, you know. But now moving on to like number 2 would probably be like Lelouch, and the Lelouch story was insanely good too. I would immediately rate this as a measly 10 and stuff, because this was out of spite that Lelouch wanted to kill his father because of what the father did to him and Natalie, where he basically exiled them. It was just like, you're gonna leave and never come back and this and that and stuff, right? Got rid of them, right? And then on top of that, their mother was assassinated, and it made things even worse. So Lelouch had an idea of how he was gonna like change the world, make the world a better place for Natalie, but he didn't have the power. So it was like the same thing with Light. You know, he met like Cece. He met her. After when he met her and shit, that's when she did the whole contract thing. That's when she gave him the Geass. Once when he had the power of the Geass, that's when he immediately killed off the peoples right there and stuff. He was like, oh, like this power and stuff. And then that's when he met Colin. He helped her and her team out, and then he became like this mysterious figure, you know, and he was able to became the leader of the Black Knights and stuff over time. So in a sense, in a very small thing, it was almost like Kira, like Light Yagami style. Almost. But it was just like a couple of things changed here and there and stuff. But now over time, Lelouch had regret. He had like some regret of the things that he did and stuff, because when his sister found out about, like, oh, not Natalie, but his other sister found out that, well, she knew it was Lelouch because of I think when they played chess together, and it was something that he said or did, and then she figured him out. It was like, wait, you're Lelouch. And he didn't want to use the code. He didn't want to use the Geass on her. They was going to go legit, because her way of doing things was peaceful. But him losing control of the power of the Geass made her like kill all those 11s and shit. Like, oh shit, that shit was crazy. Like, she spiraled out of control, killed the people and stuff, and that's when he didn't want to do it, but he felt regret. But then at the time, it was working for his plans, because it was like, oh, you can't trust them, you know, they're bad people. You see what she did, she just went berserk, and then it was beautiful. Like, that shit was pretty. It was good. But then over time, Lelouch, he still went forward with the things that he was doing. Like, he had to carry the weight of the sacrifices that he had to make to preserve the future that he was trying to make for Natalie. But then evidently it kind of like failed, because his older brother was like, well, technically we have footage of you doing this, and we had you doing that, and you set the whole thing up. So at the end, once when Lelouch, you know, had to get rid of all of the struggles, all of the people that was in his way, he became technically the ultimate evil at the end. And how he did it, well, I shouldn't say how he did it, but he became the ultimate evil. And then him and Suzaku had this plan where Suzaku would kill him and stuff to make the world be like, well, he's dead, and, you know, Suzaku is technically the hero, right? Well, yeah. In a sense, like, yeah, in a sense, like, he was like like the hero and shit. But well, right, because I forgot Suzaku. Well, he faked his death because it was like Suzaku was dead, but Suzaku didn't die. Yeah, right. Yes, right. Yeah. And that's when he killed him and stuff. But Lelouch sacrificed himself because he already became the ultimate evil, and he already cleaned up everything that happened between like his father and straightening out like the other powerful like leaders of the different countries and stuff. Like he fixed all of that in a sense. Like he fixed all of that. He made the deal with multiple peoples, but then at the end, like I said, he became the ultimate evil, where everybody was just like, oh, this dude is, he got everyone under control. He got the Gias. He's doing this. He's doing that. Like he's a monster. He has to go. So when that happened, like he willingly gave himself up, and that was it. But then turns out you find out later that he's immortal. So yeah, but he's gone, right? He's gone. But that was good. That was good. That was pretty good. Like to have it to be built up, because just like almost, well, see, I can't say it's like the Death Note story. I can't say that because Light thought he was going to win. Lelouch could have won, but I mean, there was some errors on his part. And he failed. He could have won. He could have just gotten away with it all and been like, the Black Knights are the true heroes, despite the sacrifices that he had to make and stuff. It could have happened, but he had to change things and say, well, now he's the ultimate evil, and he's the last one to be taken out. So when you think about it, it was beautiful. It was poetic. It was very poetic on how he did things. So I would give the anime like a 10. I would give it a 10 because it's a beautiful story of a kid trying to change the world for his sister. He slowly, I wouldn't say he loses sight of that. He never did. He never lost sight of that. But I would say that during that path, he dirtied his hands, right? Because they always say if you're trying to change the world, or you're trying to make the world like a better place, obviously you're going to dirty your hands eventually. You're not going to change the world and get away with anything with clean hands. That's not how this works and stuff. Because when you think about like the United States of America and the founding fathers, they had to dirty their hands to make sure we all have America. We all have the United States of America. We have all of this. So yeah, they fought for freedom and peace and stuff, but they had to dirty their hands while doing that. So, and when you look at Lelouch, you can kind of say he did the same thing, and his actions was justified at the end when he became the ultimate evil, and Suzaku had to take him out. So, good stuff. Good stuff. Like I can't complain. I know there might be a couple of people that might nitpick over the story, but like, he could have did better, or maybe, but how can he? He had like multiple people who were smarter, someone as smart as him. So it's think about it like this: Light Yagami only had 2 people, well, maybe 3 people if you count Mello, right? 3 people, right? Lelouch had multiple people who outfoxed him, outsmarted him, either by some sort of form of Gias or by smarts and intelligence. So Lelouch was kind of in a pickle in certain situations. So I wouldn't say he would have been able to completely gotten away with it, because if Light was in his situation, Light might have done better things and may have done things different, but inevitably he probably would have been in the same hole as Lelouch, dealing with all these circumstances and stuff. So great stuff. And then the last person on this list of great antagonists and somewhat of a great story would be like Madara Uchiha. Now, Madara Uchiha, going back in the past where both the clans was at war with each other for so long, and then him and Hashirama became friends, and then became enemies, and then became friends, and then became enemies again, right? I wouldn't say like it wasn't bad. I think that was like the build up to it was good. I think it was really good. Now people could say whatever that they want about Naruto, that Naruto was good in the beginning, and everybody have that argument. They can say that. Like, you can't disagree with them and say, like, oh no, they was wrong. That Naruto in the beginning towards the end was really good. Like, people have their arguments about Naruto, but the whole alien stuff, okay, sure, right? But the Madara stuff leading up to him him using the infinite Tsukiyomi and changing the world. Putting people in this genjutsu forever. Now, the problem with that is, obviously, Kaguya happened and stuff, and things just went to shit. But going back to the original concept of Madara's entire plan was for him to come back to life so that way he can do the Tsukiyomi. But it took years. It took decades. It took years for him to manipulate this plan, because he thought that the Zetsu was his own will, but in reality it wasn't his will, it was Kaguya's will. So he was being manipulated by a string of events that he didn't even see or foresee to come, because Zetsu basically changed the rules of on the tablet, I should say, of what the Uchiha and Senju actually stand for and stuff. He changed it, so he made it to seem like they was forever enemies, and they wasn't like actual, together and shit, right? He changed the shit. So Madara is a very complicated character in a sense, because he had everything, but he didn't foresee the one biggest thing. Because they always say when you make all these different power moves and stuff, it's always the closest ones that's next to you are the ones that's going to betray you. And he didn't see it coming and stuff, because, well, you could say a lot of things. Masashi wrote a very overpowered character and didn't know what to do with it. But it still goes back to what I said, like the people that's next to you are the ones that will betray you. So Madara did all these things, and he didn't double check to say, is this dude really my will? Is Kaguya? Like, he never did that. He just immediately believed that, well, I had control, I had the power to do all this. Everybody will fall under me. But it turns out it was wrong. He failed, and he became whatever. Right? He became, Kaguya and stuff, like the body, right? He became that and shit, right? But yeah, like, if I was to like judge like the character wise and say like what was Madara's rating, I would give Madara at least a 9. Between like a 9.5, probably like a 9.5. I would give Madara and stuff, because I'm not shitting on the character. I love Madara. I'm not shitting on the character and saying like it was trash or anything, but it was just that he didn't foresee it coming. He had all these plans. He did everything. He had all these plans for years and years and years, but he didn't foresee and actually like, he might get betrayed from of his Zetsu and stuff, because he already told Obito. He was just like, listen, that shit that happened with your girl, I did that. I set that whole shit up. I made it so that way, when that shit happened, hey, this Kakashi would show up, do his thing. Hey, I did that. And he manipulated everything to a degree. So everybody truly believed that it was Madara's whole shtick. Yes, he did do that, but he himself was being manipulated and he didn't see it coming. So that's why they always say when you're a person who's trying to make it up to the top, and you looking out for all your enemies, but it could be a close friend or a family member that could snake you from behind and you wouldn't know it. You wouldn't even at least expect it, because you would say, that person has been loyal to me for so long, he or she will never betray me. And look what happened. And then if you think about it, if Madara would have won, then everybody would have been placed in this infinite Tsukiyomi type genjutsu type thing, and never would have been woken up. They just would have been at peace. So all three men, I should say, was all fighting for a different version of peace, where Light wanted to change the world, Lelouch wanted to change the world for his sister, and Madara just wanted to end all war. that was kind of like the three similarities I was kind of like getting at with between the two and between the three, I should say, where they all wanted to like end conflict or war in their own different ways and stuff, because Madara had brothers who passed away, his father passed away, his brothers passed. Yeah, he had a lot of loss in his life, right? He had like a lot of loss, and he wanted to change that by using like the infinite Tsukiyomi plan, the Eye of the Moon plan. He wanted to do that, but eventually he failed. He failed because he didn't see the biggest betrayal coming. So, that was kind of like my short list I kind of wanted to talk about here, because, it was quite interesting. It was very interesting on how all three men became who they are and stuff, and one is alive and immortal, and the other two is dead. So, quite interesting. But post your comments down below, and if you like what you heard, please subscribe, share, do all that wonderful stuff, and I'll catch you later.
It's murder, go crazy.